passengers, let me ask you a question. If you had a chance, do you want to try hydrogen bus? I was faced with this question last week when I was going to take row 22M. The app told me the upcoming bus is a hydrogen bus. Well, to try or not to try, that is a question for me at that moment. And it will be a question for all of you in the near future. I believe most of you are familiar with electric vehicles. Maybe some of you even drive an EV. Hong Kong has electric buses running on the road since last year, and from this year, they began to introduce hydrogen bus. It is the first truck-cell double-decker hydrogen bus in the world. You may be curious, why do they bother to introduce such an alternative since they already have electric buses in hand? Let's make a comparison. Suppose you want to buy a cell phone. Then the electric bus is the option that needs you 4 hours to get full charged. Then you'll find it drop battery very quickly, so you have to find a place to charge it again during the daytime. Otherwise, you have nothing to use. But the hydrogen option only needs you 10 minutes. You get full charge, then you can use it for a whole day. What a great option, right? But of course, you have to pay. The hydrogen bus is much more expensive. So, to try or not to try, that is a question. It is related to various stakeholders. For you, passengers, you may be interested in comfort or safety. The government, they want to reach the carbon neutrality goal smoothly on time. And energy companies, they want to seize the chance in the renewable energy era. And what about bus companies? They are decision makers. What do they care about? Money. Therefore, my research focus is to consider the needs and impacts of all these stakeholders as well as their dynamic interactions over time, and to explore how to facilitate Hong Kong to reach carbon neutrality and drive green transit in the future. This will finally impact 20 years later when a bus comes to you. Is that electric or hydrogen? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, first of all, let's talk about alcohol. Who in here likes beer or wine? So, in fact, alcohol has been a part of our daily life since 10,000 years ago. In that part, northern Chinese people has been mixing honey, water, and fruits together to make alcohol. How about now? Now we make alcohol either from fossil fuel or from corn. In the US, a large field of corn has been planted just to make alcohol. But think about it, corn can be used to also eat. We can feed hundreds of thousands of hungry people in Africa by using that corn actually. So, in our research, we present an alternative. We use waste instead. In our research, we use two types of waste. One is food waste, the second one is wood waste. Food waste in Hong Kong itself, 3,000 tons of food waste we produce every year. Each of us produce 3,000 tons. We have a lot of food waste, but then also wood waste. We also have so many wood outside that we cut the trees and then we can use it. So, how to make alcohol out of it? In terms of food, we collect the food waste from the canteen in VA block in PolyU, the food we eat, and then we break it into smaller compound, like we have rice, vegetables, we break it into smaller compound into the sugar. And then the sugar will be used to ferment into ethanol, which is the alcohol. Now, we actually produce a product. It smells quite fruity, to be honest, which is quite nice. How about wood waste itself? In the wood, it's different. What is different between wood and food is that we can eat rice, but we cannot eat the wood, right? So, in terms of wood, we have to add another additional step in the beginning to heat it and then pre-treat it. And then, same, we break it again into the sugar and then we ferment it into alcohol. Now, what is our next step in our research? We plan to industrialize our waste, our production in our lab. Now we have a large-scale experiment of 20 kilograms. We want to do some economic assessment to test the profits of our experiment. And imagine in the future where we can taste different kind of wood wine, we call it, from a different kind of wood with different tastes. And that is our goal for our research. Thank you for listening.
A very good morning to everyone. So we now live in an age where SpaceX is reusing its launch vehicle Falcon 9 for its space missions. The main objective is cost cutting. So what if we can translate this advantage of reuse to building and building components? Because even after service life, we have a lot of components in many buildings that has least or even zero damage. So if we can reclaim those components from the existing buildings and can put into reuse, that will give us a plenty of advantages. For instance, there will be a significant cut down in natural resource extraction and also waste dumping. Because as we all know, when it comes to waste dumping, construction industry is one of the main culprits by being responsible for more than 45% of the global waste generated. And it also reduces the additional carbon footprint occurring due to recycling because this is direct reuse and hence net zero emission. Now the main challenge that I faced when proposing this is how to make these buildings reusable. So in any structure, the connections are the most crucial and critical components when it comes to dismantling. So most of the connections in the current building practices are monolithic. By designing these connections as demountable like IKEA furniture components, we can achieve reusability and also demountability. So towards such an objective, I developed this reusable column-based connection which has several components that can be assembled easily at the site and then embedded inside the concrete footing. So in this, through this sleeve, the column and base plate assembly can be slided in and locked easily, and we have already conducted several phases of testing for this and it has proved good for reuse. Now another important managemental barrier that has to be overcome for reuse is convincing the stakeholders and increasing the degree of confidence for the clients to use the reclaimed steel. Obviously, right, you might be thinking, why would I go for the old or used components for my new structure? So to overcome this, we can conduct a variety of destructive and non-destructive tests and certify these components and prepare something like a material passport. Like how our passport would contain our travel history, this material passport would contain the usage history of each component, thus making it easier for us to find a suitable reuse for these components. So I feel this reusable column-based connection of mine would be a significant step towards design for reuse in construction industry. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, as residents in Hong Kong, we will experience a super typhoon Saul last year. So do you still recall how it felt at that time? I believe you can feel the buildings leaning back and forth. So this is a vivid example of how vibrations in buildings affect our lives. Disasters like typhoons and earthquakes would affect our daily life. So just like Black Giant here, the nature is such a powerful figure. And in recent decades, structural engineers have come up with some vibration control solutions to fight against the mighty nature. However, the traditional solution wasn't good enough. So let's take a look at the red guy there. Even if it exhausts all its power and becomes sweaty, the rolling pulley tool is still tilted. But now, with this magical hat, the green guy here could become a close opponent of the Black Giant. So my PhD journey is all about this magical hat. What's inside this magic hat is a new generation solution called electromagnetic damper. And an electromagnetic damper consists of two components, a magnet and coils. So when an external force excites the system to vibrate, the relative motion between the magnet and the coil will transform kinetic energy into electrical energy. And now you may ask, how do we deal with the electrical energy? Well, the answer is the electrical energy can be reused. The currents inside the coils in turn provide a counterforce to fight against the vibrations. And by adjusting the intensity of the current, we can therefore adjusting the magnitude of the counterforce, therefore providing a more flexible and tunable vibration control performance. And since the electromagnetic damper can harvest energy from the system, the green guy here now requires less energy as the red guy does. So to conclude, a better vibration control performance and the ability to harvest energy are two key significant progress for this electromagnetic damper. And now the damper prototype is proven feasible on small-scale structures theoretically, and my goal is to promote its application in large-scale structures. trying to demonstrate its superiority in both vibration control and energy harvesting. And at this stage of my PhD study, I have successfully proved its compatibility with a skyscraper and a bridge cable. That's all, thank you.
So good morning, everyone. First of all, let me ask you a question. What type of weather do you prefer when going to a seaside or lakeside? A warm temperature with mild breeze and no rain? This is also the weather that algae like. Suitable weather conditions with sufficient nutrients in water may easily trigger algal blooms. You may have seen this phenomenon before without knowing what it was. When you are near a water body on a pleasant day, you may find out that the water has turned into a weird shade of green, even with an unpleasant smell. The water may even emit a weird light at night. See the current changing attractions? Blue tears. This is what environmental scientists call algal blooms. These massive patches of algae may suck up large amounts of oxygen for their own use, creating dead zone that may kill all other aquatic plants and wildlife. These blooms may even toxic to human beings, which have resulted to the shutdown of drinking water treatment plants in the past few decades globally. However, our responses to the algal blooms are quite passive. Typically, we take measures after the occurrence of algal blooms by removing them physically. This is because algal bloom focusing is quite challenging as algae growth is triggered by multiple factors. My PhD study is trying to solve this problem by providing a reliable algal bloom focusing model. The way I do this is I combine the data-driven model and the process-based model, using Hong Kong River data as an example. With the power of the data-driven model, we find out that the key indicators that trigger algal blooms in Hong Kong are nutrients of total phosphorus and total hydrogen nitrogen, flow condition, and the optimal temperature at 25 degrees Celsius for algae growth. After that, we identify the probable condition that may easily trigger algal blooms. We then simulate the hydraulic and chemical processes of these key indicators to evaluate when it may reach the condition. With the developed model, we can now learn from the past and establish a new algal bloom focusing model that integrates the weather focus and the simulation of the key indicators. Water Manager can now take proactive measures to safeguard our water body with the help of the focusing model. By taking measures such as increasing the flow rate through aeration system or carefully monitor the water quality changes during the periods that algal blooms are likely to occur, Water Manager can effectively prevent the situation from worsening to the point that they need to shut down the drinking water treatment plant. So the next time, on a pleasant day with a nice weather, that will be only you who enjoy the beauty of the water and the balance of the ecosystem, not the algae. Thank you.